Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, of course, depending on where you're hearing my voice from. Yeah, this is the Biafra Golden Child. I'm happy, very, very happy, to come your way again. I'm happy, that so far so good. We are all watching, we are all witnessing, we are all interested, and observing the trial for our Muslim leader, Nnamdi Kanu. You know, but something spectacular always happens. Something spectacular always happens during this retrial, the trial, mistrial, and retrial of our, able, the Muslim leader, Nnamdi Kanu. So, for purpose of this audio, ladies and gentlemen, I want to draw our attention to the remarkable, things that have been happening, especially the way and manner our Muslim leader, Mazen Namdekanu, has continued to shame his detractors, as he clarifies his passion for Biafra. You know, uh, he continues to shame his detractors as he continues, as he clarifies. His passion for Biafra even at the trial. Yes, it didn't matter to him that he was facing such a high profile trial. It didn't matter to him, that the prosecuting attorneys for for the government have sworn, to get him down. It didn't matter to him, that they brought masked men, hooded men, and they tried him like a gangster's paradise. It didn't matter to him, that brought up 4 suitcases that were filled with pajamas, filled with boxers, filled with towels and toiletries, and they marked them as exhibits, and they were accepted as exhibits. It didn't matter to him, that suddenly audios were orchestrated, with video audios too, orchestrated, to nail him down. So, but every time something remarkable always happens whenever Mazen Nandekano comes into, the court premises, whenever his trials, begin under, Justice James Omotosho. He has maintained a mien that is very, very calm. He's maintained, a presence that, does not in any way depict fear or favor. He's not in any way afraid. He has not shown any fear. He has stood his ground. He's sitting there. He's watching the proceedings. And when they call him to talk, when they did call him to talk, to defend himself boldly, with all alacrity, ladies and gentlemen, with all alacrity, our Muslim leader stood up and said, "My lordship, yes, I'm being tried for treason. Yes, they call me a terrorist. Yes, they call me, accuse me of organ organ harvesting. Yes, they said I'm creating, I create audios that push people to make the southeast ungovernable. Yes, they said I did an audio, that encouraged NSAS people to commit arson, to commit all kinds of, you know, uh, all kinds of, just any kinds of things, disturbances against the government. But I make bold to say, ladies and gentlemen, I make bold to say that is not me. That audio is not my audio. That audio has been doctored. Of course, my voice has been cloned. That video is not my video. Yes, it has been, doctored, and presented in such a way that it looks like me. I want to make bold to say that I'm not a terrorist. I've never involved myself in organ harvesting. I've never in any way preached secession. Basically, what I do, yes, any audio I actually gave was to propagate and enunciate, bring about, create the awareness concerning Biafra, concerning the people of the Southeast and neighboring communities that have embraced this philosophy of Biafra. Yes, your Lordship, with all due respect, I'm not ashamed to repeat here and now that yes, I'm a Biafran and I talk about, the plight of my people, the Biafrans. I tell the whole world, including my people, and look, if you are not wanted in a community, if you're not wanted in a country, if you're not wanted in a region because of the virtue that you're from Southeast, you are a Biafran, you are an Igbo. Then of course, you begin to look for ways and manners, how to move into areas where you'll be accepted. I told my people the glaring inequalities, the glaring hardship, glaring, you know, governmental policies coming from the zoo against Ndibo in all ramifications of their life, in their education, in their business, in their political life, in everything. They have been treated as a defeated people, treated like a marginalized people, and they have been made to feel inferior to other groups. And I said, no, this is not right. I told Nigeria, the way you're making life difficult for my people. My people are into export and imports. They're into maritime business, but you don't create any international seaports in either Nambra State, in Imo State, in Enugu State, in Abia State, or in Ebonyi State. Why is it that the whole of the Southeast only have 5 states? Meanwhile, the North, there's North East, there's North Central, there's North. I mean, how many states does the North have? How many states does the Southwest have? And these are the same areas. Yeah, these are the same regions that came together, created the foundation to create this country called Nigeria. My people fought for independence, following the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914 by Lord Logan. My people fought extensively. Did everything they could, to develop this region, this country called Nigeria. And my people fought vehemently as nationalists. We had Igbo people, we had Biafran people who brought out their neck, who fought Europeans to a standstill. They made sure the British Jack was removed. They made sure that independence came October 1st, 1960. But how are you treating them? How are you treating them? Just because of a coup, January 1966 coup, a coup, that the Igbos. How many Igbos were involved in that coup? They called it an Igbo man's coup. And of course, because of that coup and the aftermath of that coup, our people were singled out. Biafrans were singled out, for genocide. Starting from the north, everybody felt every Biafran has to die because Sultan of Sokoto died. Everybody felt every Biafran had to die because Amadou Bello died. Everybody felt every Biafran had to die because Tafawa Balewa died in a coup that is not an Igbo coup. I'm happy that in recent times, a former head of state of this country, Ibrahim Babangida, he came up and wrote his book in the line of service. And they said categorically, everybody heard it. He said, that coup that you people call Igbo coup was never an Igbo coup. And he described Major Kaduna Nzogo. He said, Kaduna Nzogo was more Hausa than the Hausa man. He spoke Hausa, he read Hausa, he wrote Hausa, he dressed like Hausa, he ate Hausa. He was not even in any association where the Igbos were involved. He was not in any town's meeting. He was not in Igbo cultural group. He was strictly a Hausa man to the core. And so when people begin to say Kaduna Nzogo was fostering and was pursuing an Igbo agenda in that queue, it's very unfortunate. In fact, once again, the head of state then, the then head of state, Badamasi Babangida, said that several Igbos actually died opposing that coup. They died when they were trying to fight against that coup. They died preventing that coup. And they said, he gave the final, bombshell when he said, the beneficiary of that coup would have been late Chief Obafemi Awolowo from the Southwest. Because, the coup plotters liked his ideology and they felt this man can move this country forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, they've all held it and everybody's blocking their ears. Everybody's claiming, amnesia. Everybody's claiming dementia. Everybody's claiming like they didn't read it. But the whole head of state, former head of state, who served this country as a head of state for 8 years, 8 solid years, back to back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, has come out to say that my conscience will not permit me to continue to pretend that I don't know the origins of that coup, that I don't know who were the forebears of that coup, that I don't know what transpires in that coup. It was never an Igbo coup. It was never, ever intended, to favor any Igbo person. In fact, Igbos died trying to prevent the coup, trying to sabotage the coup. He mentioned a couple of names, and then he said the beneficiary, ultimate beneficiary of that coup would have been late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Ladies and gentlemen, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu told the court, he told Justice James Omotosho, he said, despite having made this, declarations, despite having made these expositions, despite having corrected the historically, orchestrated, manipulated version that the 1966 coup was an Igbo coup. Yet, the Nigerian government continue to treat the Igbos, with a pathological hatred. They treat the Igbos, as if they're nobody. They treat the Igbos with all manners of, disregard and disgrace. They look at us, Igbos, with suspicion. So, my Lord, I talk Biafra, and I tell my people, look, if you're not wanted, if they don't want you, will you reject yourself? Will you force yourself into a place you're not needed? No, no way. I told them, yes, if they don't want you, you can reject yourself. Our community in the Southeast wants you. Biafra land wants you. Let us go back. If they don't want us to continue with them, if they don't want us to, ascend to leadership positions with them, if they don't want our people, to occupy positions of authority in church government, establishments, like the oil companies, the banks, customs and exile, immigration, high choice jobs, NMPC, if they're not willing to give you a job there, you won't kill yourself. Let's go back and draw our own map. Let's go back to Biafra and develop our own region. That is what I said. That is not terrorism. I'm saying it because I shed tears for the plight of my people. I'm saying it because I felt enough is enough. My people have suffered enough. Why are we treated as second-class citizens? Why are we not allowed to drink water and drop the cup peacefully? Why are our communities daily bombarded, by AK-47 touting the Fulani jihadists who come as cattle rearers? Why is it that Boko Haram has ravaged our communities? Why are our churches not safe again? Why is it that when a Christian is killed, they treat these Boko Haram people with kid gloves? When a Christian is killed by Fulani jihadists, they said, no, he was a concomitance of stealing his cattle. Somebody tried to steal his cattle. I mean, they sweep it under the carpet. But the moment a Christian avenges or revenges, he's quickly taken to court. Judgment is given. Death by hanging, death by fire and squall, instant death, all because, of course, of an agenda. Yeah, because I find it highly disheartening that everything that concerns my people, everything that concerns the Biafrans, that is handled with the highest legal status, legal and military, paramilitary forces of this country. But when it comes to other regions, they are treated with gloves, with kid gloves. Yes, I'm being tried. I'm being tried because I dared to talk about my people. But I dared to highlight, the plight of my fellow Biafrans. But I'm very much aware that not too long ago, Sunday Igboho came out. Yes, Sunday Igboho came out and was fighting for Duduwakin. I'm very much aware that Sunday Igboho, they took it out even up to the United Kingdom. We saw them parading the streets of UK and taking letters to a letter of their request for secession down to Starmer. Yes, the British Prime Minister then, Starmer. Yes, they took a letter to him. Today, the whole Yoruba group came, stood behind Sunday Igboho, and of course he has been pardoned. He was given a chieftaincy title, and in fact, during the last election, February election, he was vying for a political position. I know about the Boko Haram people. Every time they are caught, every time they commit atrocities, when they murder people, when they destroy communities, set farmlands afire, including the so-called Fulani jihadists who come as cattle raras, when they come into a society and commit mayhem, destroy farmlands, destroy communities, kill, maim, rape, kidnap. What happens when they are caught? Of course, they are arrested. Of course, they are tried. And the next thing you hear is, well, you see, these guys, they are pushed. Their actions are a concomitant of what the environment does to them, what the communities does to them. People try to rustle their cattle. People steal their cattle overnight. People kill their cattle, poison their cattle. And so they have no choice but to defend themselves. The Fulani cattle rearer is carrying A47 because he wants to defend himself. He wants to protect his cattle from marauders. You can imagine the language. And in no time, they say, look, we forgive them, we pardon them. You know, they are given some money. They say we're taking them, rehabilitating them. The next thing you hear, they are given options to join the military. Choose any force of your choice. Is it the police? Is it the army? Is it the air force? Since you know how to use AK-47, maybe you join and so this has been the trend. But when my people talk in IPOP, when my people talk about the inequalities, the wickedness, the hardship visited on the average Igbo man because he's from Biafra, when he dares to say it, he's arrested and called a terrorist, called a secessionist, and the heaviest sanctions of the land are applied to try him. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom lovers, this has been the character. This has been the mere. This has been the demeanor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu all through his trial, especially this second time around, this second missionary journey trial under James Omotosho. Even in the first trial, I mean, when he was under the justice who recused herself, Justice Binta Moritala Yako, he also maintained it. He told Justice Binta Yako boldly and openly, Madam, the kind of questions you're asking me, Madam, the methodology of your court, Madam, the way and manner you're going about this court proceedings and trial does not make me happy, because I don't see any iota, of likelihood that you don't seek to convict me. You seem to have a premeditated, decision. Yes, premeditated objective, to declare me guilty. Please, there's a lot of bias I feel in you. You seem to have scores to settle, or to prove to the cabal who are holding your husband, who are holding your son. Yes, for, financial related matters. Madam, I don't think I'll have peace being with you. Please recuse yourself. Let me be tried in the Southeast. Let me be tried by other, justices that are within the areas they accuse me of, spreading insurrection, of spreading secession, of making ungovernable. So, unfortunately, when, Justice Bintan Yako saw there was no way out of it, she had to recuse herself. And so, our Muslim leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has maintained a very wonderful performance so far, so good. He has stood his ground. He has been eloquent. He has been bold. He has been brave. He has been assertive. And he has assiduously taken pains to explain his narrative. Yes, taking pains, to to propagate, everything Biafra, philosophy of Biafra, why Biafra this time, the aims and objectives of Biafra, and why, of course, every Igbo man, every Biafra thinks Biafra at this stage, drinks Biafra at this stage, breathes Biafra at this stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, I must commend Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, who continues to shame his detractors as he clarifies his passion, for Biafra. When they brought out those audios, when they heard that Justice James Omotocho was going to try him, and when they saw Max witnesses, the Yoruba press, all the Zoo press, everybody was screaming, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is finished. They listened to adulterated, orchestrated audios, and they said Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was finished. They saw fake videos, clone voice and all that, and they said, yo, he's guilty as charged. He is finished. They said he's finished. They said he's a gunner. In fact, one Yoruba journalist called me and said, I hope you know that the coffin has been nailed for your maximum leader, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. And I looked at him and I laughed. I told him, well, it is too early. It is too early to begin to make such conclusions. I told him, listen, the person who was not there when a corpse was buried, when he tries to assume the corpse, he starts, from the legs. I told him he is going to have a lot of shockers. When they carry somebody's corpse, somebody who is not related to that corpse will say they are carrying sticks, will act as though what they are carrying is a plywood, is a stick, is a branch of a wood. Nobody would attach any emotional sentiments to that corpse. But for those who are directly affected, for those who are kith and kin and relatives of that dead person, of the corpse, of the bereaved. I mean, the bereaved know they've missed a great one. And so the Yoruba press thought they could lie, fatals. They thought it was mission accompli. They thought Justice James Omotocho quickly and immediately convict Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. They thought he would be begging. They thought he would come there scampering for appealing and all that. But of course, he has come and he has stood the test of time. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has talked the talk and he has walked the walk. I think we should commend him for that. And it goes a very long way too, because we are grateful to the fact that he has a formidable legal team. I mean, when he brought in Chief Kanu Agabi, two-time Attorney General of this Federation and Minister of Justice, where everybody thought, what was he bringing this great man for? What was he bringing this eloquent man for? But we didn't know that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu knew what he was doing. He knew at this point in time he needed the best, and only the best could be good enough. So I'm happy he has fortified his legal team, and Chief Kanu Agabi has never let us down. Chief Kanu Agabi is a man, astute, a man, a legal general. A man who says it the way it is. He comes in with a lot of eloquence, a lot of charisma, and he's a veteran in the job. Yes, he's a legal general. And Mazen Nnamdi Kanu could never have gotten a better legal defense with other teams, including several sons and all that. But equally, we must mention Chief Aloysius Ejimako. Ejimako is, a lawyer too, who has been his attorney, since this debacle with the DSS and with the Nigerian government. Even though Justice James Omotocho has often, chided barrister lawyer Ejimako for being the one who lets the trial go on stream, who streams it live, including the in-law wife of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's younger brother. They've been both accused of making it go public. But of course, Aloysius Ejimako is a great man. He's a lawyer with a Biafran blood, and he knows that blood is thicker than water. He knows that everything he's doing, that Biafrans are watching him, and he's doing it for his fatherland. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nnamdi Kanu continues to shame his detractors as he clarifies his passion for Biafra. He doesn't care whose ox is God. He doesn't care who is watching him. He doesn't care if who's trying him. He doesn't care whether the powers that be are watching him. He says it the way it is. He crosses the T's. He dots the I's. He calls a spade, not an agricultural instrument. And I think it's really helping him because so far so good. All the so-called witnesses, hooded witnesses, have been described as totally unreliable. All the so-called exhibits, the audios have been finally condemned as cloned, audited, manipulated, and orchestrated, to nail him. The so-called videos have improved to be out of context, managed, doctored to prevent, to seem like it's a current thing, to seem like it's addressing a Sunnis agenda, but which it's not. And so Nnamdi Kanu, continues to shame his detractors as he clarifies his passion for Biafra. Listen, gentlemen, I'm also praying in that same vein, the same way Nnamdi Kanu is holding it steady, the same way he's calling a spade, the same way he's boldly articulating his views, the same way he's clarifying his position, the same way he's holding sway, telling the government, telling the authorities, telling the Chief Justice that Biafra is in his blood. Biafra cannot be removed from his blood. That he is Biafra, same person. Biafra cannot leave him. And so whatever they are doing, they should first and foremost consider the plight of the Biafrans. I'm praying in that same vein, ladies and gentlemen, fellow freedom lovers, that our own Simon Ekpa, our Prime Minister, whose trial started in Finland, we are seeing equally he's towing the same line. We are seeing him, bringing a lot of diplomacy and tact into, his trial. And we see him defending himself vigorously, looking at Finnish authorities and telling them, I'm no terrorist. I fight for my people. I talk about the plight of my people. Yes, my people are living hell. They are living in hell in the zoo called Nigeria. Yes, if you look into the history of Nigeria and you consider the issues, the experiences between 1966, 67, 68, 69, 70, even before he was born, before Simon Ekpa was born, if you consider what the things that happened, the mayhem, the near genocide, yes, over 4.8 million people dying, you know that nobody who is a Biafran will start talking about Biafra. So I'm happy that Simon Ekpa is towing the same line. I'm happy equally that he's achieving results because so far so good. Alexander Stubb's government in Finland, Alexander Stubb, the Finnish prime president, is finding it difficult to make any categorical stay, as far as Simon Ekpa is concerned. And I think very soon, God willing, our two eminent leaders, Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa, will walk out free men without prejudice. Free men, unconditionally be released, and they will come back and join our Deputy Prime Minister, yes, Dr. Ngozi Arabweze, push, navigate Biafra, United States of Biafra, redeclared, sovereign United States of Biafra to another level. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're going. Forward ever, backward never. There can never be any alteration. That is how it is. Yahweh is with us. Yahweh is with us. Our hands are clean. Biafra is a legitimate struggle. Biafra is a way of life. Biafra is the culture of the people. Whoever hates Biafra hates himself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me pack it up here. I'll do another audio. We'll still, interact. Let's see how it's going. Yes, trials are ongoing and we're watching, assiduously, watching with every, intent and purpose, making sure that we don't miss anything. Pray for them. All hands should be on deck. Our leaders must not be disgraced. United States of Biafra, really clear United States of Biafra must excel, must achieve. God bless you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Biafra. Yeah, Superstar Media. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra. I wanna know. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra. I wanna know. We're going back to the land. We're going back to the motherland. Biafra. Tell me about Biafra. We're going back to the land. Tell me about Biafra. We're going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra, Biafra. Tell me about Biafra. We're going back to the land.